carried you this far, 'cause the love goes further than you ever could. In this moment, heaven's working everything for your good. Tell your heart to beat again. Close your eyes and breathe it in. Let the shadows fall away. Step into the light of grace. Yesterday is a closing door. You don't live there anymore. Say goodbye to where you've been. And tell your heart to beat again. Heart to beat again. Beat again. Oh, tell your heart to beat again. Thank you.
We all love a comeback story. We love hearing them. The challenge, the grit, the grace, the overcoming. We don't like to be in those situations, but we love to hear about how people are resilient. They find strength and then come back even better than they once were. We love those stories. One of the stories I love is in 1928, Betty Robinson, one of the first gold medalists in the Olympics, female athlete in field and track, first gold medalist. After she won, she was in a fatal airplane accident. Well, almost fatal. Let me explain. She was so badly injured that they took her to the funeral home until they realized her heart was still beating. They rushed her to the hospital, and she was given a grim prognosis. But when she came to and she heard this prognosis from the doctors, she said, "No, that will not be my future." She decided to regain any mobility that was possible. Weeks and months and years later, she stood, she walked faster, she walked long distances, and then she ran. 8 years later, although she could no longer physically maintain the posture at the steeple at the beginning of a race, surrounded by a team of other female athletes, she ran the Olympic relay and again won gold. There is power in rebuilding yourself. There's power in resilience. There are ninja skills in rebuilding yourselves. And tonight, we're going to talk to 4 individuals who are doing just that. Now, this is a little bit different. This stage, this setup, this experience, this is the worth the follow experience. This experience with the live studio audience is also being captured on multiple cameras. Any idea how many cameras? Any thoughts? How many cameras? 6? More than 6, more than 8? You've been here before. How many of you have a phone in your pocket? So we have cameras, we have YouTube, we have streaming Facebook, we have our phones, but you are also able to capture this experience. You're able to feel into it. You're able to share with other people. And our goal with the Worth the Follow Network is connection, character, experience. We want to create community in a different way. Because if you notice, right now content is being created just someone taking a selfie. What we can experience here and all together as we talk about what's being said up here, that is an experience. That is a relationship. And we feel it's high time that character and connection came together and social media actually created relationships. You agree? Woo, woo, woo. Okay, so tonight, again, we will be interviewing 4 individuals, 2 dads, 2 moms. And here's the thing, our concept with Unmanageable is that women, especially, in times where they feel they've lost their voice, I created an acronym to help women find wholeness with that VOICE. And that really is about having a victory mindset, taking radical ownership of your life, living in integrity, and knowing what your calling is in this life, and bringing energy to that. And Betty Robinson, she did that. Now, it was disruptive. She didn't agree with the doctors, but that disruption, that disagreement elevated her life. And sometimes when we're using our voice and we're advocating for our kids, our families, we're developing something new and brave, it's disruptive. And disruptive is okay. So, welcome to Unmanageable. My first guest on the dad side, 2 dads, 2 moms, my first guest understands what it's like to be crushed, to be broken, and to choose growth, to choose to rebuild. And not only to choose to rebuild, but choose to rebuild others as well. So please welcome to the stage, Weston Brandon. Woo, woo, woo! Welcome, welcome. I'll sit here. I always recognize how short I am when I'm when I'm hugging people. So, thanks for being here today.
Yeah, this is fun.
So, how many kids do you have now?
3.
3. Adorable, by the way. Like
Thank
one
you.
of them is a mini me completely. So,
Unfortunately for him.
but your life, when you started into this parenthood experience, took a drastic turn.
Yeah.
So, you were in sales, doing so great, newly married, wife's expecting a baby, and you just have this amazing set of circumstances coming together. And then what happened?
Well, as you said, I was doing great in sales and had the job, had the money, had the house, everything was going the way that it was supposed to go in my mind. Right? And had a plan, but then my wife her name is Lauren at 25 weeks got diagnosed with an incompetent cervix, which is essentially she dilated but didn't go into labor. So the door opens and you got to go on bed
Yeah,
rest.
that's scary at those weeks, yeah.
Yeah, so way too early. And they're concerned about his lung development because that's one of the last things. I'm not a doctor, this is what I'm being told, right? One of the last things for development in the baby is the lungs. So they said, we got to keep him in at least long enough to develop the lungs, and then maybe, with modern medicine and the incubators we got in the NICU, we can sustain some things. We got to keep him in as long as we can. So they gave gave her some steroids to kick that into gear, and it worked, and a week later, he's born. He was coming out breech, so they do an emergency C-section. And I was at home doing my sales thing, and she called me and said, they're not waiting for you.
Baby's coming.
You need to get up here as quick as you can. So I hop in my truck and I floor it, and I pin it all the way up there, and I get there just in time to see him pull my son out, and he's 1 pound 13 ounces. Super tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could hold him in my hand, and they wrap him in saran wrap, which was weird. I'd never seen a baby this small, right? The only babies that I had seen were pretty much full term, maybe a week or two behind. So I'm used to seeing a newborn baby that's like got the swollen face and the kind of fat ways and stuff. And he didn't look like that. At 26 weeks, he's very tiny. He doesn't have any fat on him, like skin and bone. So I'm looking at him wondering, like, is he okay? And miraculously, he was, for that age, he's fine. They wrap him in saran wrap, they put him on the scale, we see the weight, it blows my mind. And then the one thing that we're worried about is how are his lungs, how is he breathing, what's his oxygen, right? And they're thinking we're probably going to have to intubate him, like put the breathing tube down his throat. And miraculously, he didn't need that. Whatever they gave her in that time worked, and he ended up not needing the breathing tube, so he just needed the CPAP on his nose. So they wheel him out of there and say, we're going to do some tests. Let you come see him once we're done with that. We do a bunch of tests. Everything's pretty much fine. They're like, other than being way too small, he's okay, just needs a little help to keep his oxygen, and he needs, we're just going to keep him until he can eat enough, hold his own body temperature, and hold his own oxygen. Like 3 marks is always there. So that's what we were told, and he ended up being in the NICU for 2.5 months. Yeah.
So you have this newborn baby, and this is, again, your first baby. You've kind of just heard about this baby growing, and now you see this baby tiny, 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 and you're probably just overwhelmed with that experience.
Yeah, I mean, as a husband and a father, like my job is to provide for my family, right? So honestly, at that time, that was the biggest thing on my mind. Like, I'm in the NICU, like, how much is this going to cost? Like, how am I going to work this out and take care of my family? And I'm being told some not super fun numbers I'm going to have to be working with, and so that's really stressful. But what bugged me when my son was born, and it bugged me about myself, and I didn't really realize this until a few weeks later what was happening, was I didn't feel like I had a relationship with him. I didn't know him.
Yeah. I think that's common though with dads, because a woman is feeling this baby growing and having this connection and this sense of this child. And so here's this brand new, tiny, tiny baby that now is a stranger to you, but you are somehow connected to.
Yeah, I'm basically just being told all these stories from my wife, And I say stories not to mean like I don't believe her, but like all of the experience with the baby, she's experiencing, and I'm just being told what's going on, And of course, we go to the 20-week sonogram, and I can see him and kind of hear the heartbeat, but that's just kind of a blurry picture. So I'm like, there's something going on here, and I'm excited for it, of course. And when he's born, I'm super excited. But then when I'm looking at him, I'm like, why don't I feel this like overwhelming guilt? Like my wife's in tears, like loving this baby, and I'm like, I want that, but I don't have that yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So he's super tiny in the NICU. You guys go home, and you're coming to visit him, right?
Yeah. And so that was basically our routine for the next couple of weeks. Was I would work, and Lauren would do whatever she's having to do exercise and stuff, recovery and things, And so we're doing that, and then just going up in the evening time to spend time, get skin to skin contact with my son, and she's loving that. But one of the things they did for her at the hospital, because she had a couple things going against her here. She had been on bed rest for a week, right? And true bed rest, like bedpan the whole 9 yards. You couldn't get up for any reason. So very immobile. And then she's pregnant for one, so that causes all sorts of stuff to happen with your body. Not that I would know, but
yes.
I watched it. And then the C-section, that's a major surgery, right? So there's some trauma to the body. So while she's in the hospital, they put these leg massages on her and say, hey, this is to help just try to keep blood moving so we don't get blood clots. But unfortunately, 2 weeks later, she ended up on the wrong side of that statistic. And she developed a blood clot in her deep leg veins. We obviously don't know that. We can't see it.
So you're at home.
Yeah, we're at home when this happens. And she starts having these shortness of breath episodes where, and given the whole situation, she's thinking that she's having a little anxiety episode, which
happens.
obviously I don't blame her. Like, this is stressing me out, you know what I mean? But then one morning I'm there working and she calls me over. She says, I'm having trouble catching my breath. Just hold me and tell me to calm down. And she was never able to catch her breath again. And so as I was holding there trying to help her to calm down, and she says, I think you need to call 911, something's wrong. So I call 911 and get them on the phone, and they're walking me through things, and I've been holding her. I'm trying to help her to get over to the shower to take a cool shower to cool off. And she collapses in my arms right now. And I had to do CPR on her for I don't know how long, but
Till the EMT got there.
until the paramedics got there and could take over for me.
Listen, you're feeling already this responsibility and mantle of protection and provider, right?
Yeah.
And then in an instant, your wife is gone and you have this little baby stranger that you are financially, emotionally, spiritually responsible for. Where do you go from there?
Honestly, I didn't really go anywhere at first. You know, I had family that flew down. My parents flew down. Her parents were in town already, so there were people around to kind of support. You know, but for weeks, it was just like I would do as much as I could to take care of him and to hold him, but really it just became, how can I distract myself from this pain, from the grief, from the moment, from all of this tornado that's going on in my mind. And I realized a couple weeks after she passed, before he got out of the NICU, that I actually developed a little bit of resentment. I don't know if it was towards him or towards us, but there was some type of resentment there that was associated with him, because it kind of felt like he'd replaced my wife, right? And I didn't realize that in the time, but
it's so good that you bring that up, because I think we have these glamorous ideas about parenthood, that it's going to come natural, that it's going to be just easy, and yet so many things are displaced when we become parents, and especially if there's special needs, especially if there's these circumstances. And it was just you and him.
Yep, it's just us, and he's my best friend. You know, he every time I come home, he's so huggy, and like physical touch is his love language, and it's so cute. But in those times, you know, there for the couple of weeks I was feeling that, I didn't really know where my head was at. And then I don't really know what happened per se, but I finally recognized that was going on in me. And I made an intentional decision. I was like, I am not okay feeling that. I don't want that to stay around any point beyond right now. So before, when I would hold him, and it's not like I wasn't holding him or doing anything with him before, but my mind was checked out. I wasn't paying attention to him. I was thinking about my wife that I just lost. I was thinking about the bills. I was thinking about everything else that I got to think about, and not really think about him. So I made a conscious decision to instead shift. While I'm holding him, while I'm spending time with him, I am with him. I'm spending time. I don't speak his language. I'm trying to figure it out. And when he's fussing, I was like, the NICU nurses are telling me he needs to go to sleep, so we need to like try to help him go to sleep. So I started playing different styles of music for him. Like I tried some country music, I tried some like 80s rock music, I tried some metal music, and like all these different styles to like to see kind of maybe if he would have any kind of response, because I knew he could hear. Because when I would walk in the room, even when my wife was still alive, that like within the first few days, if I would come in the room and I would start talking, he would crane his neck and look to wherever I was.
And, like, he can recognize stuff. So I started playing some of his music, and I found what was so funny was he liked old country, like old Western country. I'm playing like
Even as a baby in the
Marty Robbins.
You're like, okay, I know his style. I know his vibe.
Yeah, and he's since branched out tons then. But then when he was really little, if I played like Dolly Parton or, like I said, Marty Robbins or like some older country music, to me, he would calm down and he'd chill out a little bit. So that kind of became my routine. I'd go hold him for a little while, and then like, we're going to listen to some old country and just vibe, in the hospital.
Now, I love that you talk so authentically about what the beginnings of your parenting was like. You have remarried, you have more kids, and you've actually taken everything that you learned and put it in a book that people can read, especially men, right?
That's the intended audience, yeah.
Yes, the intended audience, because I've read it, and like I think my voice lowered the further into it. I got. Okay, dude. Okay, so in this book you talk to other men and dads, and it's called The Overhaul, right? So sum up, what will people get out of that book? What will dads get from that book?
Well, if I had to boil everything down to one sentence, the main message of the book is that clarity comes through committed movement. Because everybody, you don't have to lose a spouse like I did. Like, everybody in life at some point has that big, massive question on their mind, like, what do I do now? Because something blows up, right? And you're like, what do I do now? And the biggest thing that I learned through that experience was that the clarity comes through committed movement. And then what I wrote the book on was, what does committed movement look like? How do you do committed movement? And you mentioned an acronym you came up for the women, right? I love acronyms.
Me too, because I remember, even in my older age, I remember acronyms.
Right. So what I did was I took everything that I felt passionate about teaching and relaying to these guys, and the way that I even figured out some of this stuff was through my lines of work. I was in charge of training some people. Didn't know who they were. If they didn't know who they were, then putting anything else in there was nearly impossible. So I put all that in there. I'm like, how can I teach this in a simple way and come up with drive? And that's
good for men. Drive, right?
We all like a high drive.
There you go. Men want to drive.
Discover, resolve, invest, visualize, elevate. Think of that as a system. Not necessarily, you kind of have to start in order.
Okay.
But you don't, once you do discover, you don't throw that out, right? You add to it, and eventually they all work together. And in the book, I use a lot of analogies about electricity and magnetism because I have to do that for work. I do a lot of things with electrical. And you right? And having had to go through school to actually learn how magnets work and how we use them to create the lights and create the sound and everything, it was really interesting for me to, when I was looking up a lot of these studies on how that works in our bodies and how they interact with each other, it was exactly what I learned in my blue-collar jobs, but it's happening with each other. And I realized that drive is how we amplify that field.
Okay, tell us again what drive stands for. And
Discover.
then do we have a picture of that book that we can pop up?
then visualize is kind of where the cool, when I was studying all the electromagnetic stuff with both the tools that I work with and then how that works with human beings. When we visualize our success and where we're going, authenticity, when we're feeling authenticity, that's when the frequency that our heart and our mind emitting is the most stable and the strongest. And then gratitude was close behind that. So if you can put those two together, magical stuff starts happening. So you put yourself like, this is where I feel like this trumpet's calling me to, right? Now imagine being there, but in so much detail that it actually feels like you're there. Like who am I once I'm there, right? Like what do I think, what do I believe? And then you make that who you are now. And then elevate is just basically what I'm trying to do now, and elevate as many people along the way as you can. And I believe that if your success helps God make other of his children's lives more successful and better, then he's on your team and he's going to help.
Well, thank you for putting this in a book, because I think it's one thing to look over and see someone doing well after they've gone through something hard. It's another thing for that person to explain to you how they did it. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for sharing your story with that.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo!
Thank you.
Again, using our voice to elevate others, to actually, woo-woo, it's a hot flash, to give them the A to Z steps to getting where we've been, where they want to go, right? We want to model the best of the wisdom that we've acquired through those crushings. When we can articulate that to other people, as my brother Curtis told me years and years ago, we shorten their pain curve. And I'm all for that. Let's shorten the pain curve. My next guest has been a professional speaker for decades, one of the top speakers in the country, and now the CEO of the largest chain of ninja gyms in the world. So please welcome to the stage Mr. Ty Bennett. Woo, woo, woo! In the world. Okay, I think we have a video of the cool stuff that Ty is doing with your kids.
That's the fun part.
That is a very cool thing. Okay, here we go. So ninja gyms here.
This is not like any other keynote speech that you've ever seen. Ninja uniquely illustrates some lessons in high performance in a way that nothing else can. Because the metaphor unlocks the research, it brings it to life. We actually had to unlearn the entire swing that they had learned before and relearn a new one. Sometimes what gets you here won't get you there. And part of growth is not just learning, it's unlearning. If you
But this whole ninja thing, this is cool, Ty Bennett. So, and your kids too. Tell me how this started, and then how you brought your kids into something that is so profound. I mean, it just is going to impact them as adults.
Yeah, this has been an interesting journey. So on November 22nd, 2018, my two sons, they were 8 and 10 at the time, they watched the show American Ninja Warrior for the very first time.
Awesome. You all know what that is,
You guys
American
seen
Ninja
the
Warrior,
show before?
right?
I know that date because we celebrate November 22nd as Ninja Warrior Day at our house. I don't know what you celebrate, maybe Thanksgiving, but for us, it's the day they found the show and they became obsessed with the show and started reenacting the show and swinging on things and hanging on things and telling
Were you
me.
terrified as a parent?
A little bit. I had never seen the show other than when they watched it, and I thought it was cool. It was fun that they were active and getting out there, and then we not long after that, found out about a Ninja Warrior gym that was opening near our home, actually very close to here.
In Utah?
Yep, and so we went to the grand opening, and I signed them up for classes, and they started getting into it, and then they started competing. We started building some obstacles in our basement, in our backyard, and just trying to support them, right?
Yeah.
But they were obsessed, and they became very good in the process. And in the process of watching them, that's been 6.5 years, what I found, because of the work that I have done in the past, and I continue to do as an author and a speaker, is I was having the same conversations with my boys in the gym that I was on stage with leaders of corporations.
Wow.
And I was like, these are the same principles, and Ninja is such a unique, it's such a visual sport. When I would share videos online, people would go crazy, and I was like, I need to figure out how to put that on stage. And so we've figured out how to build a rig that we literally ship across the country and put it on stage, and my boys are part of that, and we're sharing lessons in high performance. We just did a national research study on high performance, and Tanner and Drew, they're now 14 and 16, are co-authors of that study with me, and
Oh, cool.
are part of this speech, and it's been the most rewarding part of my career by a mile.
Wow. You have spoken on leadership for as long as I've known you, right?
Yeah.
A long time. And now to be able to demonstrate the things that you are trying to hit home to people, for them to integrate into their lives when they go home from these presentations, like they're seeing, what does it look like, right?
Yeah, I mean, one, it brings an entertainment value with skills I don't have, right? They're way more entertaining, so that's fun. But yeah, it is, it's different. There's a performative aspect to it. It's an experience. It's not just a speech. It's not just me talking to them. It's let's experience this and see it play out in a visual way, and add a combination of being able to hear the boys' perspective. I mean, these are elite athletes. Like, to brag on them for a minute, they're nationally ranked ninjas, have been on the show, have competed all across the country, been on podiums, won competitions, and really taken over our life. I now own the 2 Ninja Warrior gyms around here as well. I guess as an entrepreneurial dad, that's what happens. But it's been the coolest part to me is when I'm standing on stage and I can watch them speaking or sharing or doing their thing and see the audience taking in from them. That's awesome. But the coolest part is it's given me this venue to have conversations with my boys that I wouldn't normally have. And we've gone so deep in so many different areas: business, high performance, resilience, and all the lessons that we're teaching in a way that I don't know that I would have had the opportunities to have those conversations.
I think it's so great that you watch them get excited about Ninja, and you started pouring into them. Like, let's, if you want to do this, you're interested in this, you've got energy and passion behind this, let's go for it. Let's get you in classes. Let's really jump in and have you learn, and then that's elevated all of you.
Well, and I, as a parent, I think I learned this from my parents, but I had very supportive parents. I was very blessed in that way. But I have 5 kids, so the 2 boys are really into Ninja, but my other kids are into other things. And I think it's awesome for them to pursue those things and pursue them at a high level, not because that necessarily is going to take them somewhere, but because of the life lessons learned in the process. Like, my oldest daughter played soccer her whole life, and she's not pursuing soccer past high school, but she gained so many life lessons through that process. I think that's the point from my perspective.
And the character. I think when kids and adults go after things and you have to continue to get better and take the falls, be resilient, try again, even if it's physical, emotional pain.
Well, and it becomes so real. Like, my 14-year-old son, Drew, he is one of the top 3 ninjas in the world for his age. He's very, very good. And yet, when you're that good, you're pushing the envelope. Literally yesterday in the gym, he was in tears with me working on something that he could not mentally break through to do. that's the best part of the process. And the coolest part to me is the principles we're teaching that we found in the research on what allows you to perform at a high level in any capacity. I don't know if there's a better example, and no one's really going to fully see this, but a better example of those principles than the development of this speech, because it's a constantly evolving process. It's stretched all of us to the point of breaking, to tears, it's just been a really cool thing to do together.
So they're 14 and 16. Now, when I was 14 and 16, and my brother's in the audience, so I can't lie about this, I was like kind of a ninja, but not like a good ninja. So for your kids at 14 and 16 to be hearing words like resilience, leadership, to be stretching themselves physically, right? Pushing themselves past their limits. Like, that is an amazing way for a kid to grow up.
I think so. I hope so. I think that, some of those experiences I had in going after my goals as a kid served me and continue to serve me. I'll give you one example. In our research, we did this national study, and we looked at, okay, from a high performance perspective, what are the barriers that keep people from performing at the highest level? And based on the research, the number one thing that holds us back is the fear of failure. Right? We all have it. We all experience it. It shows up in different ways, but we don't want to fail. Ninja teaches you the exact opposite mindset. Quite literally, if you think about, we actually show this on stage, but if you think about success and failure, most of us, if we were to visually diagram it, we would go success is that way and failure is that way.
Yes.
Right? You're pursuing
agree?
one, you're avoiding the other.
Yes.
If you ask my boys to diagram success and failure, they will go, it's that way. It's the same path. Because if I go into a gym and we go, we're going to learn a new skill, they never get it the first time. They're going to fail over and over and over again and learn through the process and literally assess, reevaluate, cry a little bit, get hurt a little bit, watch a video and go, okay, I just have to tweak this eventually to get to success. It's the only path through. And so some of those life lessons that they can learn, and then to put them in a situation where they are recognizing it and articulating it, teaching it to somebody else. I hope, I look at all the investment that we've made into this sport, it's a lot of investment. If that's the only lesson that they got out of it, I think it's going to serve them for the rest of their life.
You saying that success and failure, it's the same direction. I think as adults in the room, we are so afraid of not just failing is, but what people will say about us when we fail, right? It's not the failing, it's not the messing up, it's what other people will say to us or about us when we have epic failures in our lives. So, role play with me. Okay. So if I'm one of your boys, okay, I'm one of the boys.
You're much prettier, but okay, I'll go with it.
And I have just had an epic fail on something that I've tried. How do you coach me? Because we talked about this on our last show. Because immediately we as adults go into shame, right? And kids do too, especially when they're learning something like in school or they're being brave with creativity, right? So if I failed, my first response is going to be shame. I'm feeling shame that you saw me fail, and I'm kind of embarrassed. So how do you coach me to try again?
I think part of it is what we typically focus on is the result and not the process. So if I can celebrate the process, so the first thing I'm going to do is go, that was awesome. And they're laying there almost dead. And I'm like, that was perfect. And they're like, what are you talking about? Because you were really close. Let's watch the video. All you had to do was this. You're right there. If you just commit a little bit more, whatever the coaching is, yesterday with Drew, as we sat and talked about this specific thing, so he had done this skill. It's a crazy skill. He's literally throwing off of a bar, doing a backflip in the air and catching another bar 8.5 feet away. And he did it, but I have video of it, but then he didn't release right and he smacked his knees on the bar, really hurt himself. But now mentally it was like, I can't do that anymore. Like he couldn't physically get his body to do it.
Because it seems like when we have an experience like that, we contract, right? Physically, emotionally, relationally, like we just...
So it's emotion that traps us. Logic allows you to step out of it and look at it differently. So we're getting in the emotion of it yesterday. I said, okay, pause for a second. What are you scared of? And he said, what do you mean? I go, no, what are you actually scared of? And he goes, Dad, I can't do it. I said, you're not answering my question. Step out of it. What are you scared of? And he goes, that I'm going to hit my knees. And I said, what's the solution for that? So we went and got a pad and put it on the bar between his hands, so there's no physical way to hurt yourself. Like you'd hit, okay, that's solved. I still can't do it. Okay, what are you scared of? What, like let's step out of it and let's solution to it. He goes, I can't get my body to do that. And I said, no, you just did. And he goes, no, I did on a trapeze bar, which means that the bar would swing versus a static bar. And I said, so let's put a trapeze bar right here. And he goes, I can't. And I said, why? And he goes, because does that work because we're using a specific rig we put on stage? And I go, let's make it work. Like, if you can do it with a trapeze, I don't care. No, you don't have to do it with a static bar. And he goes, okay. So I put it up there. Does the skill, right? Like, you have to be able to step out of it because we get stuck in emotion. And we don't know, it is paralyzing and can be completely paralyzing. And so I think being able to step out of it and to focus on the process, not the result, allows you to work through that to find those solutions.
I love that, because so often we get paralyzed and then we stop even looking at options, and we get so shut down that we stay there.
It's easy to get stuck, and we've all done that. I'm guilty of that. The beautiful thing about all of these, I think, for anybody who teaches any kind of principles, is they just slap you in the face over and over again. I mean, I use them against my boys sometimes. I'm sure I'm like, hey, what did you just teach on stage? Right? Because it's a good reminder, but I'm guilty of that too. There are definitely things in emotions that have shut me down, and you feel stuck, and it's hard to get around that. Sometimes you do need other people. We had a conversation the other day where I brought up this idea. I said, have you guys heard the saying, bringing something to the light? And they go, yeah. And I go, what does that mean? Like, well, telling, like sharing it. And for those who are spiritual in nature, I said, what's another name for Christ? And they said, light. And they said, so let's put those two together for a minute and think about it. When we bring something to the light, we allow that in. We allow, like, bringing it to other people. I don't think we can do all this on our own. And I think as parents, as much as we can, and we all have so many things demanding our time and attention and energy and all of those things. But I think if we can get in the trenches with our kids, it allows for the conversations that really matter. And that's what I'm most grateful for in this process. It's been awesome and fun to do, but it's given me a space to jump in with them and dive deep.
I love it. I love that you took pursuing your career and pursuing your fatherhood, and you matched those together. And I think parenting is that over and over, just trying to give more of ourselves, be more authentic in our conversations with our kids, love them better. And I value that you brought your kids into a space where they can be in the spotlight. Not just you, but they can be growing up in the spotlight.
Let me tell you the coolest thing that happened just a couple speeches ago.
Please.
Afterwards, so my sons are named Tanner and Drew. Afterwards, this guy came up and he goes, okay, so it's Tanner and Drew. He looks at me and he goes, what's your name again? And I was like, yes, that is fantastic.
Oh.
But like giving them a space to have some of these experiences and do that has been amazing. And it's just been a learning process, right? Like that's I don't think any parent has it figured out. I know I don't. But it is. It's like you said, it's just giving more and more of yourself and figuring out how to do that. And as much as we can, I don't think there's anything cooler in the world than being a parent. I think it's like the most rewarding thing. My oldest daughter just left on a mission, and I am so excited for her, and at the same time, it like ripped my heart out.
Kids do that, don't they?
It's like been the hardest and most amazing thing, like, but that's what it is, right? Like, that is part of your heart, and you just jump in as fully as you can.
Thank you for being so real, not just on stage, but I watch you live your life, and I value that example. So, thank you for being
Thank you
with
very much,
us.
Tiffany.
So good. How we all doing? We are going to take a 10-minute hot flash. A 10-minute intermission. Feel free to move about the cabin, and we will come back with our next two guests. Grab some tissue. It's going to be good. Welcome back to Unmanageable. In 2022, Anita Alvarez, a creative, artistic swimmer, was competing in Budapest at the World Championships. She had just offered a flawless performance. And suddenly there was a disruption. Shocking the judges and the crowd, her coach, fully dressed, jumped into the water. She knew Anita's timing, she knew Anita's cadence, and she knew something was wrong. Anita hadn't come up for air. That gut feeling saved her life. As you look around in your friends and your families, the people you love, who is not coming up for air? Who do you know that is living an untenable situation? Who do you know that you could reach out to and help, sustain, see? Sometimes all we have to do is acknowledge the weight someone is carrying, and it helps to be seen, to be heard, to be known, things we're striving for when we feel like we're drowning. Here at Unmanageable, we talk about voice, VOICE, a victory mindset, radical ownership, integrity, calling, and energy. And when we bring those things, especially to our friends and our families who may be struggling, we can help. When we bring that to our professions, when we bring that to our spirituality, when we bring that to our families, we save lives. So it's no small thing to disrupt, to call audibles, to jump in the pool, to be with people who are struggling. My next guest has carried incredible weights and advocacy for families in the NICU. She has spent her career supporting and sustaining life. And now the life that she is child. Please welcome my favorite NICU nurse, Sarah Dumas.
Oh, I better go this way.
TNT right there. Can we show the picture of Noah?
Oh,
He is the cutest.
he is cute.
Oh,
This is old.
when was this taken?
So he's about 3 here.
Okay. And he's how old now?
He's 9.
He's 9.
Yes.
So a lot of things have happened
Yes.
since this picture.
Yes.
So tell me about your work in the NICU first.
Okay.
Because you understand science, you understand healthcare, you understand what parents are going through, right? And you have been right there with parents as they're trying to navigate a lot of the biggest questions for their child. So what drew you to that work?
We have a family history of diabetes. I have some siblings that are type 1 diabetics. So from my childhood, we spent a lot of time in the hospital and, I'm going to be a nurse. These nurses are great. And then when I entered nursing school, it was, as an adult, I already had kids. And like, I
So
can't.
how old were you when you went into nursing school?
I was 35. So
Awesome.
I was like, I can't do the kids that can tell me how bad it hurts, because I was a mom and it just broke my heart. So I went into the NICU, and while I know they're still in pain and they're hurting, something about them yelling stop at you is just so hard when they're kids. So
Solo bajé esto para
you
poder
have to be
escuchar.
extra diligent, and I work in a level 4, which is the worst of the worst,
Yeah.
right? So I work there, and I just spend my days taking care of those babies and help to save them, and
Incredible
I
work.
love it.
Because it is not easy to watch kids that are struggling, and then the parents struggle,
Mhm.
right? So when Noah came along, sweet personality, angelic personality, you started to notice some things that kind of made you scratch your head, but also it was kind of a gut check, right? Like something's not right. So what were you seeing?
He is always beat to his own drum, for sure. So he is a force, and he was just very temperamental even as a baby. And then at 4 months, he quit sleeping. So I'd bring something to the doctor's attention. It's just sleep regression. Something's just not right. And my husband would say, "You're just going to make him this basket case. You're so stressed all the time." I'm like, "Something's wrong. I don't know what it is." And then he started just having like personality change a little bit, and he started grabbing his right foot. He had this horrible separation anxiety. He was just so very different. I mean, I focused, he's a baby.
And how old was he at this point when you started seeing like some of these different things?
He was just after 2. And it was such a distinct change. I don't remember where I was when he responded differently than he had on his life. So I kept bringing it to the attention of the doctor. And they're like, "Sarah, stop, it's okay." I'm like, "I know." And mind you, I know, I work in healthcare. I know 99% of the time it's moms and dads being moms and dads, right? And to me, I'm like, I have a different perspective. I'm a healthcare professional. I'm a mom. I have neurotypical, neurodivergent children. So to me, I'm like, nobody is hearing me, and this is just getting worse. And in the meantime, he's now 2, and he's 3, and he's still not sleeping, and he's starting to have aggression. And finally, when he was about 4, his pediatrician was like, "Okay, yeah, if he like this all the time, let's do some testing. We're losing this autism." And I said, "It's not, but okay." My oldest is autistic. And she said, "No, I think it is." I said, "That'd be great if that's what it is, but this does not feel the same. It's not a regressive disease." He starts holding his hand, kind of like muscle tightness in his hand.
Things that you wouldn't see with autism.
Yeah, and so just prior to them finally kind of saying, "Oh, we'll do this autism testing," it was right before COVID, and she said, "We've got a really good family therapist in this clinic. Why don't you see if she could give you some parenting tips?" I said, "Great. If this is a me issue, let's fix it. Let's fix it. But there's something else here." And then COVID shut everything down. So we start just seeking out anybody that will see us still with COVID, paying for things, just trying to go around because nobody is hearing us. We do the testing, and they're like, "Okay, he's got autism." I'm like, "Then why is he regressing?" Great.
Yeah, because you wouldn't see regression with autism.
Right. It's not typically a regressive disease. "Oh, well, you think it's ADHD?" I'm like, "Me too. But also, I can still walk. Like, what's happening?"
Yeah.
And I just kept getting put off. So October 17th of 2022, I picked him up from school. He was really distant. He wasn't himself. He's always loud and runs, and he loves everybody. And he's just kind of out of it. And I said, "Are you okay, buddy?" And he took like 6 naps today. This child does not sleep. hasn't spoken in several years. And I started just, oh, maybe she didn't, just going through everything. Did you find candy on the playground? Did you fall and hit your head? Did you know, anything? And he's like, no, he's just really quiet. He's that little girl. And then I knew his expect, so his eyes are open. And you were thinking that being her. That's how baby sees, right? A little turns her eyes out, and he starts having just like nonchalant. His eyes are down, and he's just staring at the window. I'm going to pick up my other son. So I wonder if this will be our other son just in the car.
Solo stavo.
By the time we got there, he'd lost control of his valves, and I just am like, okay, so we're going. And by the time we get to the hospital, he's lost function on the left side of his body. He's still alert, but not fully there. And as soon as we walked in, Grace started having another seizure and went unresponsive. So they immediately take us back. I give a full report, and they stop and look at me and say, where do you work? What do you do?
Like, you're not,
and I'm like, yeah, you don't know
sound
time.
like
Yeah.
a regular mom. You sound
I'm like, yeah. So they immediately start giving him medications to stop the seizures, and they take him back and they do a CT, and all of a sudden we have neurosurgery in there. I didn't know they'd been consulted, and they said, oh, we don't think he needs a shunt. It's just hydrocephalus from his dandy walker. I'm like, what are you talking about? He does not have dandy walkers. Congenital brain defect that I work with often, and he doesn't have that. And he's like, yeah, no, it's fine. So, and he walks out.
Can I ask,
Mm-hmm.
in those moments where doctors are telling you it's fine, and you as a mom know your child, what's happening inside of you when you're dismissed?
Complete rage. And I have a little bit of a temper, and my husband's usually just goes hand on my back. It's like, shh, don't start. So he's my polar opposite, so it works out. So I instantly stand up to follow this neurosurgeon. I have no idea what is going on. Nobody has said anything, and then they came back and, oh, we didn't know they.
Years where you've been drawing attention to this. This is not normal.
Mm-hmm.
Now.
And he had had a CT about a year and a half prior, and it was completely normal.
Wow.
And so it was grossly abnormal. They did an MRI, and there was significant changes in his brain. So they admit him. He's still seizing and unconscious. And they came in the morning. They said, wow, mind you, I see a lot of MRIs, but I can't really read them. I can look and say, oh, yeah, okay, I can kind of see things are normal here, and we're missing some things here. And so this is an MRI, or Noah's MRI. This is how it looks, and I'm just this basket case because I'm like, somebody tell me something.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you know. The white matter brain disease that is genetic, and it attacks the myelin sheath, the protective coating on your neurons in your brain. So it just, essentially, your brain deteriorates, and when that happens, it takes your function. So developmental, behavioral, every organ system, movement, bladder and bowel, speech, it just kind of slowly takes everything as those neurons die. And it's essentially terminal. So and it's degenerative. So you just get to watch your child a little bit at a time kind of disappear. And it's a rare disease, so there's only about 30 known types of leukodystrophy, and of the other undiagnosed, only about 50% ever end up getting a diagnosis. So
here he's so young, and he's lost so much mobility and function. And I know in our healthcare system, the way it is, that is very expensive. Even if you have insurance, even if you have great insurance, that takes a huge toll. And as far as bandwidth, I know you and your husband Ben are doing so much every single day just to steady him. How are you, like, where do you find strength? Besides swear words, because those are always good. Those are always good. But besides that, like, where are you finding the strength to get through knowing that every day you're seeing less and less of him and wanting to love him more and more?
I have a lot of very, very dear friends that all trauma bonded sisters. And many of them are in healthcare, so it's nice that typically you can't say those horrible, awful, ugly things to everybody. But nurses, everybody should have a nurse as a friend, because you can say anything that crosses your mind and it doesn't surprise us. We're like, oh, of course, she thought that.
Because nurses are kind of like medical doctors, but with a sense of humor, like a dark sense of humor.
Very dark.
And part counseling.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yes, everyone should have a nurse in there.
Yeah, you should. So I lean a lot on my friends, and I've got a pretty close-knit tribe. And then on Noah, I'm just focusing on those little things that, while it is not perfect, as even in my mind, right? I never thought, oh, when I get older and my youngest is 9, this is what my life's going to look like. No, I thought I'd be like sleeping in and somebody else like they get their own breakfast, and that's not reality. But trying to find that silver lining, because I know there are people who have it far worse than me with more rapid deterioration and things. We don't know what type yet, so we don't even have a trajectory. One day we're like, oh, we're doing this now. It's really hard, because you just have to kind of watch and see these things. So, but just trying to find those modifications to give him the best quality of life he can, where, okay, we can't go outside very long if he gets too hot and he has seizures. He can't maintain the temperature. So lots of shade, lots of water. We can go out for a few minutes and we go inside, and thank goodness we have central air, right? So, but it's just the strength in him that if he's going to get up every day and fight, so am I. And obviously my own kids, I put in everything for, but also the kids I fight for every day. And I think the strength comes with like being the most diligent I can be in everything, and offering grace, because I absolutely know not everyone is their best selves every day, and
Especially with what they're carrying.
yeah, and just it's what it is. Nobody is perfect all the time, but just offering grace and hope that I'll get that same grace when it's me on the other end. But
well, can I just say that I met Noah years ago. I haven't seen him recently. but I just remember being so taken by his presence, his personality, his eyes, how loving he is, and I just want to commend you as a mom. As a mom. Because I know in what you're doing, you don't always get that back from him. So I just want you to know that you're seen, that you are valued, not just in the work that you do, but as a mom and as the part that you play in our community. So yes, I was expecting this call. You're really here. Oh my gosh. You wanna tell her? Okay. Come on up.
Hi, I'm Karina with Miss K Kitchen and Bath, and I am awarding you and giving you an ADA bathroom for you and your family and for your son so that you can have a safe space to be able to give him a shower, that you get to do it safely for both him and for you.
I am so excited reaching out in our community to female general contractors. Who could do this? Who would step up and help you as you are helping Noah? And I just have to say, I'm so thrilled that we have Miss K and a female-led makeover for your bathroom so that you can safely take care of Noah and safely take care of you. I know you have some surgery coming up for all the physical love that you have extended to Noah. So we will work with you to find out the best times and ways to do that. But can you please tell us about your company?
Absolutely. So I actually started my company a couple of years ago, and just recently it has just been blowing up. And they actually posted on social media, Tiffany had posted on social media and had asked for who could do a bathroom remodel. And I got a lot of shout outs. I got a lot of very loved people, and I was super excited. And so when she reached out to me and she shared your story, I knew I had to come do it. And I actually love ADA bathrooms. Some of my favorite clients are my aging clients because I want them to be able to have safety and security in something of just basic hygiene. And when she told me that you were injured because you were helping your son, I was like, we have got to get this woman an ADA bathroom. And so I want to make sure that you have a roll-in shower. I want to make sure we have plenty of grab bars. I want to make sure that you get to have a safe space for you and for your family and make it freaking beautiful, because that's the fun part. I know,
That's why you want a female to remodel your bathroom. It's going to be ADA. You want to support in any way, again, we're building a team, an all-female-led team to make this happen, and that's kind of fun, our first Unmanageable home makeover. So we are super grateful, and thank you. You did not even hesitate. You heard Sarah's story, and I just thank you. Thank you for making this happen. I'm excited to be part of it. Thank you. Love this. Thank you. Thank you. It's going to be awesome. So give her a round of applause. Thank you for sharing your heart. And we will take a minute to mic up our last guest, and stay tuned. Isn't that awesome? Awesome. You know, we don't always know what our neighbors are going through, what they're carrying. And I think in our culture especially, and I'm going to say especially with moms, but Ty, correct me, Curtis, correct me. I think in our culture, we as women try to make everything look good on the outside. Try to make everything look like we're doing just fine when we're not doing just fine. So what is our worst? And how do you guys do it? Because I know for us women, it's all about like looking like you have it together. So what is it for men? How do men do it?
I think it's the same thing. You're just telling the age in the conversation. And then you just take a picture, which is what they do. And
Yeah.
then I think it's tight, but I think men are even more so tight. So I think deeper and so none of that.
Weston? Yeah, so we've got a lot of head nods. I'll be really vulnerable. Back in 2000, I was a mom of 5 littles, and all under the age of 8, and it was very loud in our house, very loud. And for me, here I was in Utah, and I really did not feel as good as other moms. I felt like I was just broken. And for me, it was like having a glass of wine at night when the kids were going to bed, and then it got to be more wine, earlier bedtime, until I was really struggling with alcohol. And to the point where I didn't want to be here anymore. I just didn't feel like I could be here anymore, that I was not good for my kids. And I was functioning, but inside I was not functioning. And my late husband said, we need to get you some help. And I got some really good help, and I got to the bottom of what is that for me, where I compare myself to other people, compare myself to other moms, compare myself to other religious ladies, right? Where I feel like I'm chewed gum or I'm broken and I just have to keep numbing. And when I got to the bottom of that, and I could forgive myself and heal some things that had been broken a long time before that, I was able to manage that, and my life changed. And when I was able to manage that, and I was able to talk about it with other women, guess what? Other women were self-medicating too. Other moms were comparing themselves. Other moms felt broken. Other moms felt like chewed gum. And the more I started talking about it and sharing what I had learned and putting it in books and speaking from stages, the more I realized we're all just doing the best we can to be okay. We're all going to be okay. So as I have spoken and connected with other moms and seen how other moms manage trauma, how do other moms manage when they're feeling broken? How do other moms, healthy moms, manage bad things that happen in their lives? And how do they bounce back? How do they look at their circumstances and choose this trajectory of growth and healing and sweetness? How do they choose that instead of blame, self-medicating, and trauma? And over the years, one lady has stood out over and over again. I'll look over and I'll see her tackling problems, going through challenges, and loving God even as it's happening, even as the hardest things are coming. and still, with incredible intellect, able to articulate and write how she's processing those feelings so well that everyone reading her post feels relief in their circumstances. So, my next guest is one of my dearest friends. Please welcome Amanda Wilkinson. Good so far? Good? Everybody doing good? Woo-woo! I'm so glad you're here.
It's such an honor to be here.
Oh my goodness.
Such an honor.
We chat so much, like daily, right? It's so good to see you in person.
Yes.
Give you a
Yes.
big hug and
Yes.
I am just constantly impressed. And let me say this, I'm constantly impressed with how real you are and how expressive you are, and really just brutally honest. Because I think as a way to make everybody else feel better, we sometimes have a tendency to sugarcoat the really crappy things that are happening. And so what I love is you have this gift of being so honest and so clear and not sugarcoating what you're going through, but actually going straight to what is the most healing, what brings the most clarity, and how can I get there? How can I hope to get there? And so rebuilding hope is just a part of who you are, and then expressing that to share it with everyone who's in your reach and lifting them. It's so powerful.
Thank you so much. That is such a high compliment coming from you, since you are a mentor for me, and I found you during such a critical time in my life over a decade ago when I was going through another challenge. And
Crazy how the years.
we've seen each other through so many life experiences.
Yeah.
And yet, it's amazing how some of the chapters that we thought would be the hardest chapters we ever faced prepared us for future chapters that we could have never have seen coming. And yet we get to decide in situations that we had no control, how we show up, and sometimes how we're going to do it differently this time.
So when you bring that up, Amanda has lost not one but 2 children. And we met years after you had lost Bennett, with your son. And then as time passed, your daughter Grace had an accident. And that brought a whole new level of grief and advocacy and deep soul searching. So talk about how losing Bennett and then losing Grace, how they were different, and what you've learned for those of us that are also going through things.
Yes. Well, first of all, I think it's almost impossible to put into words what it's like to lose a child. It's the most unnatural experience that I think a human can have. But both of my experiences with grief were tremendously different. My son Bennett was completely healthy, was just about to have his 2nd birthday. We put him to bed one night, and he was giggling and laughing, and "Good night, Mama." And then the next morning, we found him after he passed away. And to this moment, we don't know why he passed away. He was completely healthy. And so I had that experience with unexpected and just shocking grief, right?
Yeah.
And so I had traveled that road before, and I navigated that road before, and how devastating that was, and how it took me months to just keep reminding myself that he was gone. An accident that actually happened at school, where we ended up fighting for her life for 6 years. But it was 6 years of the most grueling suffering
that I've ever experienced. I didn't know this kind of human suffering existed as I watched her body shut down system by system by system. And then just last August, she ended up passing away 6 years after her injury, and I took care of her as she passed away in her home.
So when the accident happened at school, can you tell us a little bit about what happened and what that changed inside her body that led to the 6 years of suffering and struggle?
So she was just in a classroom, and she was on the Shakespeare team. She was getting ready to go compete at the Shakespeare Festival in Cedar City, Utah. And she was doing a monologue, and she was walking across the classroom, and suddenly there was a boom and a flash. People looked around and they saw Grace on the ground unconscious. And there were some live wires coming up out of the floor in the middle of the classroom. And she took the brunt of the electricity, and it knocked her unconscious. And though at that minute I could have never known the trajectory of all her internal injuries, I knew immediately when I picked her up from school that something was terribly off.
Wow, so they called you.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be a lot of electricity for the whole school to be...
For all the lights to flicker in an entire junior high.
To be affected.
Yes.
And
yes.
she got that shock.
Yes, and so what it ended up doing was, even though she had a burn or an entrance mark on her foot where the electricity went in, she didn't have an exit point. So in situations like that, it actually multiplies the injury because it just keeps cycling throughout your body and just continues just all that dysfunction. And so it literally ended up affecting her neurological system, her vascular system, her autonomic system. I mean, you just go on down the list. And over time, we ended up seeing system by system by system shut down. And while we were trying to figure out and unscramble all the injuries that she had, and I could so identify with that mother, pleading to doctors, something is wrong, something is terribly wrong, and them saying, oh, she's a teenage girl, she can't eat, she's losing weight, she has an eating disorder. And I'm like, no, she can't keep down food, something is wrong. And come to find out all of the nerves in her entire GI tract were completely unfunctional and had burned through the electricity. And so it was bit by bit where over 6 years we fixed everything that could be fixed until what was left to be fixed could no longer be fixed. And then we had her team come to us and say that the most humane and ethical thing to do at this point would be to let her go.
Now, not only are you an incredible creative,
thank you.
writing and speaking, and globally, this woman, interfaith, you just have that gift, but you also have raised these kids that are so gifted, and Graceland just had this incredible voice, the ability to write her own music. As she was getting sicker and sicker, it's almost like her soul became stronger and stronger. And she was expressive, and she was letting people in to see her pain, but also her joy, her life. How do you find the joy in that experience? Where does your family find it?
Well, she's such an exceptional human that I can't take credit for that, because she is remarkable. And I only hope in my life that I can respond to my challenges with half the amount of, ironically, grace that she responded. It was amazing to me in the depth of her suffering, with a level of pain that very few humans can understand. It was amazing for me to watch her in the hospital taking care packages for other patients and delivering them, or flowers would come into her room even after she was told that she was going to be entering hospice and that she didn't have very much time left. And her entire hospital room was full of flowers and cards, and people were just overwhelmed with grief. And she asked the physical therapist on the floor, she said, "Who these flowers, and can you put me in a wheelchair, and can you go deliver these throughout the floor?" And she insisted that no one know what she was going through, what her story was, that she was going home to die, that she wanted to brighten people's day on the floor. And she even started her own movement called the Fight for Light movement, where she would go and speak and share this movement and offer hope to other people struggling. And even for her, she gave out over 300 bracelets that she would make when she was in the most amount of pain, and she would deliver them to other children fighting for their lives in the hospital. Not saying a word of what she was fighting, but the focus, it truly was the greatest way that she dealt with this incredible challenge and heartache, was looking outside of herself and trying to focus outward.
As you are reeling and healing, right?
Yes.
From losing grace, how are you, like, 2 children? I can't even imagine. I can't fathom what that would be like. How do you rebuild hope when it's been crushed like that? How do you do it?
Well, this time around is different than the first. No one asked to go through this once, let alone multiple times. But one thing that I have realized as a person of faith is that hope is not an outcome, it's a relationship.
Ooh, I love that.
And so my hope is not based on a certain outcome coming, though we did everything in our control to try and I truly believed with all my heart that she would be healed. But when it was all said and done, my Creator and the God that I believe in had a different plan for my daughter. But my relationship with the God that I worship is strong enough and is founded enough that my hope is based on my faith and in my trust of not only what happened, but even more so what is to come. And for me, that gets me through this undesirable outcome, which is not what we prayed for, not what we hoped for, but I also believe that I never want the legacy of my children to be the destruction of their mother. That the greatest way that I can honor them is how I live my life and how I continue to fight for light and hope, not only for myself, but for the 3 other children that I'm raising, and that they deserve to have a whole mother who continues to show up.
Wow. Wow. Conviction that is not based on your circumstances. It's almost like you've said, no, my trajectory, because of who I believe I am and who I believe God is, my trajectory is right here. My circumstances are going to shift, but my trajectory is right here. I'm going to keep my eye on that trajectory. And you need to know you are such a light for other people that may be feeling like things are shifting in their lives and they can't get a handle. You are such an example of, I know who I am, and I know where I'm going. I know what I believe. And it's just phenomenal to see, and it's so comforting to watch someone do that. So.
Well, I'm so grateful for that compliment, because it really is what we work for every day. But I want to say that so many times people try to downplay what they're going through, to not have others worry about them and feel bad. But I really believe that the more real we get about our challenges in life, the more we glorify God. Because it is not in the fact that what I'm going through is shallow or not challenging. It is in the depth of sorrow and grief and the excavating of my soul, that I have learned what the power of God is, and that He is sufficient to save. And so I think that when we speak frankly about the journeys that we're on, whatever they are, and the journeys that have been very different from one another, and yet there's been similarities. But when we speak openly and frankly about those, but then we also share what we're learning, what we're becoming, and how we're changing, I think that can be translated across many different life experiences. And for me, the people like you that have shown that light to me when I have been in a place of darkness has helped me know that there is light ahead and to just keep going.
Mic drop. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your heart and soul. Again, I'm just so grateful that you're my friend, and that I think one thing that I want to see on this stage that I feel like we're creating is real. Real. And so thank you for doing that.
You're so welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Woo! I feel fed. I feel fed. So I am so grateful to have an incredible team putting this show together. As well, and want to be reaching our community with character and leadership and opportunities to use this platform for good things. So in closing, one of our great team members is actually, you guys are the first. You're the first. She wrote this song, and she is going to sing it tonight for the first time live. So please welcome, in our closing, Emily Stevenson. Woo!
Broken down and tired and you can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out.
Wow. I am just in awe at all of you, all of these amazing guests tonight. A lot of the time, this song's a little bit perfect, I guess, unintentionally. Sometimes we just want to run away, we want to hide, we want to just give up. And I think every single one of our guests tonight probably have felt that way with everything that they've gone through. And this song is called Don't, and it's just that urging to never give up and to keep trying. Do you wish you could run away sometimes when the world feels heavy on your shoulders? Do you wish you just had a friend sometimes when you knew you could always lean on? Do you wish you could hide? Do you wish you could cry? Do you wish you could fly away? But don't
give up. You gotta keep on going and don't give in. You gotta keep on standing tall and don't let go. Whatever you do, whatever you do, whatever you do, don't.
You rocked it, girl. Woo! Good job. Thank you for being here tonight on our second Unmanageable. And feeling whole. So thank you. Good night.
Good stuff.